Hello, everybody. Merry Christmas. It's a beautiful Christmas morning. We already celebrated ours a little bit early because Sword had something else to do, and she is now in a different state. And if you want to see our celebration, you can see it on my other channel. But I wanted to share with you, while it was still fresh, something that I discovered that I don't like about Nassim Taleb. So, as you know, I'm not going to talk to him until I have read everything that he's written, and I haven't yet. But I recently watched a video in which he appeared with Daniel Kahneman, and a lady came on at the end to ask him a question about gun control, and he refused to answer. He said that anti-fragility has nothing to do with gun control. And I thought, wow, what was that? And then later I researched it a little bit more, and I found a Facebook post in which he was for limiting access to semi-automatic weapons to the government. And wow, this is a post from 2012 in the on his Facebook page, and maybe it's changed. So again, not going to contact him and yell at him or anything like that. But I posted the links to those two places in the description box. So you guys go look at that for a minute while I try to share this live stream on my other computer. Let's see how fast I can do that. So if I'm in my other YouTube and I look for my subscriptions, let's see if anything from me pops up. Oh, wow. Yeah, it does. So it says that I'm live now, which indeed I am. And I need to, all right, there I am. Okay, and I've got that, and copy. And I am going to share this over here with my Facebook friends. Let's see if that works. Of course, all my friends are opening their presents, and we've already done that in my household. So anyway, again, Merry Christmas. If you're enjoying your Christmas with your family and opening presents, have a great time. Here's one present that I got. It's a Starbucks mug, and I have coffee in it because I like coffee. And it's still morning, so I'm enjoying drinking that. By the way, I have not found a public figure who agrees with me on everything. And it seems to me that all of them are inconsistent, and I'm the one who's consistent. But maybe you think differently. Anyway, I just wanted to say that I did see a live stream by Yaron Brook of the Ayn Rand Institute that I really liked about Christmas, about the secular nature of Christmas. He's an atheist, but he enjoys Christmas. He enjoys the commercialization of Christmas, and he likes gift giving, and he doesn't think that's unselfish, and he doesn't think it's all about altruism. And so if you want to go over to his channel and tell him that you like his video, feel free to do that, because I totally agree with him on that. What I don't agree with Yaron Brook about is with regard to corporations and people not having skin in the game. And so I thought, well, okay, I like Nassim Taleb a whole lot more than that, because he seemed to understand some of the things that are going on with corporations and why it is that when a large corporation becomes too big to fail, that hurts all of us. Okay, so I was sort of fangirling on Nassim Taleb, and so I've been trying to read some of his books, and at the same time I've been listening to some of his lectures. And there was a video of him and Danny Kahneman. He calls him Danny Kahneman. Everybody else calls him Daniel Kahneman. And they're good friends, and they were talking. And at the end of the video, this woman came up, and I noticed there weren't a lot of women asking questions. Toward the end, there were two sort of token women asking questions on that video. And the first one did sound a little bit like she might say something annoying because she started talking about the woman thing. But then she asked about gun control and how anti-fragility would apply to that. And Nassim Taleb said that he had no answer. And Daniel Kahneman said, yes, well, it doesn't apply to everything. There are some things that it doesn't apply to. Okay. And I thought, wow, he's avoiding the topic. They're both avoiding the topic. They've decided to be gentlemen about it and not say anything to offend anyone. And then I started to wonder, is this why he is allowed to publish in the big world? You know, he's playing with the big boys now. And is that why I can't? Because for every person who's famous, there's some issue in which they're statist. There's some issue in which they agree with a big state. And then there are some issues where they allow themselves to disagree with the big state. And usually they have to decide which camp they're in. They're either a conservative or a liberal. And so it seems as though, for instance, Yaron Brook, it falls more in the conservative category. And I now realize Nassim Taleb must fall a little bit more into the liberal category. And I hadn't realized that because I'm neither conservative nor liberal. So, of course, I don't agree with gun control. And I also think that it falls beautifully into anti-fragility and skin in the game and all of that. Something that is anti-fragile is something that gets better with disorder, that becomes more powerful with disorder. And do you know who becomes more powerful with disorder? Privateers. And I have this story on Historia Obscura, not about Jean Lafitte, who is the hero of the Battle of New Orleans and the hero of my two books, Theodosia and the Pirates, which is really one long book. But his brother, and this is a story about Alexander, the elder brother of Jean Lafitte, and how he started his career in privateering. And you know what he did? He was like a teenager, and, you know, or early 20. He was a very young man, and he didn't have a lot of money. And his family wasn't going to give him money to go off and become a privateer. So what did he do? He saved up some money, worked on ships, and then bought himself a very leaky boat. Well, you know, it was a craft that may have known better times. He used that craft that obviously he didn't invest a lot of money into it. And he went into battle and he got himself a better ship. And by the time he was done with that battle, the ship that he had, that he bought, that he invested in, it sank. It wasn't any good, but he got a much better ship. And so he came into port with a couple of ships, and he redeemed them. And, you know, because he was a privateer, and he redeemed them for the country that he was fighting for, and got his money from his banker. And now he could afford to buy a better ship. Okay, so this is a story about how when you go out to battle, you do not want to invest in a fleet of strong ships that will never sink. That is not how you become stronger. That is not how you make money from war. This is not how it works. What you do is you risk a little to get a lot. And this is exactly what Nassim Taleb would tell you if you were playing the stock market. It's exactly within the parameters of the sorts of things that he suggests that people do. But all of a sudden, when he's talking about warfare and weapons and guns, he forgets that that applies to those things as well. So, if you will look at the link that I gave you with regard to, let's see if I can share that screen with you. But I've got this Facebook post by Nassim Nicholas Taleb about gun control. So I'm going to screen share, and then I'm going to try to go to this other place, and hopefully you guys can see this. This is Nassim's, see if that worked. Over here and look at it. Yeah, okay. I did share that. So let me just go down here so that you can read that. And he says, and this is from 2012, he says, so to continue, let us examine the arguments against gun control one by one. Argument of self-defense, mass murder weapons like automatic rifles is not compatible with self-defense. Mass in this context, weapons that can kill more than 4 people. 2 arguments of government tyranny. Why don't gun advocates fight for the right of private citizens to own large tanks and atomic weapons? Well, who says we don't fight for those things? We do. A semi-automatic rifle is too potent for self-defense and too weak against government tyranny. Its main use is in innocent crowds and typically school children. Oh my God, does he sound like a liberal? Now let me see if I can stop the screen share. So, where was I? I want to be in my live event so that I can talk to you. I'm still screen sharing for some reason. Okay, I'm going to now stop screen sharing. That was a bit awkward. I still can't see my event. Oh, there we are. Okay, I'm not going to try to screen share anything more. Okay, so what was happening there is that he was assuming that, you know, only bad things and really very bad things could happen with people who are not the government having access to semi-automatic weapons. Now, we're not going to say that bad things can't happen, but look at what the anti-fragile model is suggesting is that we shouldn't shield ourselves individually from bad things happening to us, because collectively our society will be stronger if we allow bad stuff to happen in small doses, and we learn how to do that. So, for instance, an example that he gave is on the highway, if you are crazy and you drive drunk in the opposite direction, you're going to kill yourself. Okay, so that'll be the end of that, and the whole thing will be over. So you don't need somebody else limiting your ability to do this stupid thing. It's better to allow the person to do the stupid thing. Yes, he might harm somebody else, but we let that happen. He kills himself, and natural selection wins. Okay, so in the wild, wild west, everybody had a gun. There were some gunfights, and generally speaking, if somebody got out of hand, that person was shot. It doesn't make any sense not to assume that the same thing would happen with any kind of weapon. We're not going to allow people to kill our children, and it's better for there to be people who are good and armed and protecting the children than to disarm everybody and then expect the state, who are experts on how to use guns, to come and rescue us. Now, Nassim Taleb seems to know that about a lot of things. He knows that about the central bank. He knows that centralization is not good. He also knows that people who are given a license to do something by the government and call themselves experts are not really experts, and they are not necessarily more reliable than anybody else. So why does he suddenly believe in a state-run police department, a state-run military? Why does he think that those people are good experts and the other kind of people are bad experts? Now, he was talking about how Hannibal went into battle first, and I agree with that. Hannibal also had private assets in his wars. He funded his own wars. It was not all taxpayer funded. And this is what I believe. I believe that if any war that we have to have were privately funded, then no, I'm not saying there would be no wars, but there would be a limitation on how much money we could spend on wars. And we couldn't just spend all our time having wars. Okay? So he's not being consistent. And it makes me wonder, what else is he inconsistent about? For instance, I don't know what his stand on vaccination is. Obviously, if we allow childhood diseases to occur, and this is without any regard to saying there's something bad in the vaccines. So let's just say the vaccines are working perfectly, just exactly the way they were supposed to. And let's say the autism epidemic is not a result of some poison in the vaccines, but instead the autism is happening because we've now had several generations of people who were never subjected to childhood diseases. They therefore survived who wouldn't have. And now there are children with autism as a result of that, because of a lack of natural selection in our genetic line. So all of these things are centralized things that are being done in the name of safety. And all of them go counter to the arguments that Nassim Taleb has made with regard to economic matters and other kinds of matters. So my question is, okay, here's what I'd like to say. Of course, he's wrong about gun control in the same way that Yaron Brook is wrong about corporations, about limited liability for corporations. In the case of Yaron Brook, obviously, he couldn't have become the head of the Ayn Rand Institute if he didn't follow the party line. So in some way, he's very institutionalized, and I don't know whether he believes in what he says, and that's why he was chosen, or he had to say that because he wouldn't have been chosen otherwise. Now, with regard to Nassim Taleb, he's supposed to have quote unquote fuck you money, which allows him to say no to anybody who tries to control him. And yet he's a bit of a statist. He's spoken in favor of conscription as being a way to get everybody to have skin in the game. But really, it should be the other way around. We should have private people who have access to any military good that exists, so that when a war is necessary, when you need to defend your country, you can. And you can do so while having market forces on you, so you don't spend $1 million on a screw that goes somewhere into the toilet of your aircraft carrier. And quite frankly, I don't think we would have gotten to have nuclear weapons if the power of the state hadn't been used to research that. So, I'm not comfortable with nuclear weapons, but I really don't think that I trust any kind of experts with them, including the government, and especially the government. So there you have it. This kind of goes back to my discussion with my friends Julia and Michelle with regard to what would it take for people to read Theodosia and the Pirates? What would it take for somebody who really is not funded by any interest group, not even the chimpanzee one, to speak truth to power? So Bo now wants me to stop my broadcast, and I just want to wish you a Merry Christmas. Enjoy your Christmas. Enjoy your present. It's a very secular holiday. I agree with Yaron Brook on that. And have a very Merry Christmas.